You ever sit down after a long day, tea in hand, and wonder, hey, are you sure that was really your true friend? Even if that question only whispered in your heart once, your intuition was trying to tell you something. I used to silence that voice. I told myself I was just overthinking, but deep down I was afraid. Afraid of being left behind, of fading into the background, of growing old alone. And that fear, it made me hold on to people I should have released long ago. I called them soulmates. I believed they'd be with me until the end. I needed to believe that, until one day, life showed me a different truth. Some friendships aren't friendships. They're rituals in disguise. Seneca once said, "True friendship is to understand and to be understood." And after 60, when the noise fades, we begin to hear what's real. Sometimes, that clarity leads us to a difficult but freeing truth. A friendship has served its time, and in letting it go, we don't lose. We make space for something deeper. Hi, it's Vernon again, and in today's video, we're diving into 5 powerful truths that it's time to let go of a friendship, not out of anger, but with compassion for your future self. Because after 60, peace is precious, and sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away. If you've ever questioned a connection, felt that something's changed, or wondered why certain friendships leave you more drained than fulfilled, this might be exactly what you needed to hear. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the journey of rediscovering life's truths after 60 is filled with quiet treasures. And every single click from you is more than a gesture. It's a gentle encouragement that gives me the strength to keep creating these videos day after day. Now, let's arrive at the first truth, the one that quietly broke me when I had to face it. The moment I realized that this friendship was no longer something I needed, that it wasn't nourishing me anymore. That holding on was costing more than letting go. Truth number 1. You feel emotionally tired, not emotionally safe. It took me far too long to name this feeling. For years, James and I had a weekly routine. Thursday lunches, long phone calls, checking in about work, health, and family. It felt steady, like the kind of friendship you could count on. But slowly, something shifted. In our conversations, James started talking more and more about himself, his achievements, his routines, his opinions. He'd go on for minutes about a new home project or an award he received. But when I tried to share something meaningful, something vulnerable, he'd gloss over it, change the topic, move on. As if my inner world was just background noise to his monologue. That's when it hit me. He wasn't really with me, not in the way I needed, and maybe not in the way I had imagined all along. I'd get off the phone or come back from lunch and feel not refreshed, not comforted, but quietly exhausted. It was like my mind needed recovery time after every interaction with James, my friend. And you know what? After that, I still called it friendship. There's a particular kind of fatigue that only comes from pretending you're okay around someone, smiling when something inside feels unsettled, laughing at stories that no longer speak to your life, showing up out of habit, not desire. And the hardest part? It's not always about something dramatic. Sometimes, it's just that the emotional safety once there is gone. Conversations become shallow. You censor yourself. You walk away wondering if they even see who you've become. The philosopher Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that matter to you." That's exactly how it felt. This kind of friendship slowly drains your spirit while convincing you you're being loyal. But here's what I've come to learn. Being loyal to someone else should never require disloyalty to yourself. Take a moment and think carefully. Do you have someone like that in your life? A friendship that quietly drains rather than fills you? What is it that's still keeping you there? What story are you telling yourself to stay? Share your reflections in the comments. I'd really love to read what this brings up for you. The next part is a quiet ache on the ride home. Surrounded by familiar faces, I felt strangely invisible. One evening, as everyone laughed at an inside joke I didn't get, it hit me. I no longer belonged there. I had outgrown something I didn't want to admit had faded. Truth number 2. You outgrow their world, but they never notice you've changed. Some friendships don't end in fights. They end in quiet misalignment. I remember one evening sitting across from friends I had shared so much life with, but as we talked, something didn't feel right. They still saw me as the same Vernon who once chased promotions, made jokes at every turn, and brushed off anything too serious. But I wasn't that man anymore. After losing my brother, going through 2 surgeries, and spending more time in silence than in chatter, my world had shifted. Yet here they were, still talking to the version of me I had long since buried. And that was the moment I realized they hadn't noticed I'd changed. Or maybe they had, and just didn't want to meet me where I am now. It's a strange kind of sorrow when someone insists on relating to the person you used to be. They mean well, perhaps, but they're not seeing you, not really. And the longer you stay, the more you begin to doubt your own growth, just to fit back into a story you've already outlived. As Heraclitus once said, "No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." We change, we evolve, but not all friendships make that journey with us. Sometimes, the most honest act is to stop shrinking into old roles and step forward, fully, into who you've become. If you've ever felt like you've outgrown the version of yourself someone else still expects, let me know in the comments. That moment of awareness might be the beginning of a new kind of freedom. Or are you playing a version of yourself that makes the room more comfortable? Truth number 3. They don't respect your boundaries because you never knew you had any. I stumbled upon this truth not through an argument or a falling out, but while reading a book called Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab. One line struck me like lightning. When you don't set boundaries, you teach people that your time and energy belong to them. I paused, closed the book, and felt the weight of it settle into my chest. For years, I had confused kindness with availability. If a friend needed to talk at 10 p.m., I picked up. If someone wanted a favor on my only day off, I said yes. If plans didn't suit me, I adjusted. I thought this made me a good friend. I thought it made me dependable. But what it really did was slowly erase me. I began reflecting on certain friendships, ones where I always bent, always gave, always made space. But when I needed the same grace in return, silence. Excuses, or worse, guilt. I remember one time clearly. I had just come home from a medical appointment. I was tired, bone tired. But a friend texted, asking me to help move a couch. I didn't say no. I didn't even pause. I just grabbed my keys. And driving over, I realized I wasn't being kind. I was being afraid. Afraid to disappoint. Afraid to seem selfish. Afraid they'd stop calling. Philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." And the truth was this: I had trained people to ignore my limits because I never once honored them myself. Since then, I've learned this. Saying no kindly is an act of love, not just for yourself, but for friendship. Real friends don't punish your boundaries. They respect them. Have you ever felt that quiet resentment after saying yes, when every part of you wanted to say no? If so, write it down. Not for me, but for yourself. let it be a clear moment of truth. Because naming it is not just reflection, it's responsibility. And if you want to live with dignity in your later years, you must first decide whose approval you're still chasing, and whether it's worth the cost. Now, we turn to the next truth. A realization that didn't come all at once, but crept in slowly through quiet moments and subtle unease. The kind of truth that only reveals itself when you've lived long enough to know the difference between being accepted and merely being tolerated. Truth number 4. The silence after joy says more than the noise during trouble. This truth didn't come during a hard time. It came after a good one. As the philosopher Schopenhauer once observed, friends rejoice in your success, unless it's greater than their own. I had just delivered a talk I'd been preparing for months, one of the most meaningful things I'd done in years, the kind of day that fills you up. I walked out of that hall, heart full, eyes bright, and reached for my phone. Nothing. Not a single message from the friends I had always celebrated. Not even a quick, "How did it go?" It hit me. I had built friendships where I was the witness to everyone else's joy, but mine existed quietly, alone. That night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea and asked myself something simple. Why am I always clapping for others, while my moments pass in silence? True friendship doesn't just show up in pain, it shows up in celebration. The ones who cheer when you rise, not just offer sympathy when you fall, those are the ones who see you fully. There's a quote I once read that's never left me. It was from Albert Camus, and it said, "Don't walk behind me. I may not lead. Don't walk in front of me. I may not follow. Just walk beside me and be my friend." It didn't hit me right away, but later, sitting in silence after being met with indifference in a moment that mattered deeply to me, I finally understood what he meant. Real friendship doesn't look up or down. It walks with you, shoulder to shoulder, in joy and in struggle. If someone can't walk beside you in your joy, they'll never truly know how to hold you in your sorrow. Now, ask yourself honestly, have you ever had a moment that meant the world to you, but it was met with silence from those you thought would celebrate it? If the answer is yes, share this video to your personal page, not to prove anything to anyone, but as a quiet commitment to yourself. A way of saying, I see the truth now, and I'm ready to walk away from those who can't walk beside me in joy. You're not posting it for attention. You're posting it for you, as a first, firm step toward honoring what your soul has always known. Before we move into the final truth, take a deep breath, still your mind, and listen with calm, because this one, it might sting. It's not loud or cruel, but it lands in a place we don't often look. This truth took me the longest to accept, not because it was complicated, but because I didn't want it to be true. It had been hiding behind years of loyalty, comfort, and a quiet hope that maybe things would one day return to how they used to be. Truth number 5. You're the only one holding on. I kept showing up, reaching out, sending articles I thought they'd enjoy, checking in during holidays, remembering birthdays. But slowly, painfully, I noticed the effort wasn't mutual. I was the only one holding the thread. One day, I decided not to text first, not to initiate the coffee meetup, just to see. Days passed, then weeks. No one called, no one asked. At first, it hurt deeply. I wondered, had I meant nothing all these years? But then I realized, maybe I had, but only in the season when I was convenient. The Roman philosopher Seneca once observed, a friendship that can end never really began. And the older I've grown, the more I understand the quiet ache behind that line. True connection is not measured by its length, but by its reciprocity. And when only one heart is reaching across the silence, what remains is not friendship, it's longing dressed in memory. After I stopped reaching out, there was only silence. At first, I waited. Then I hoped. Then I grieved. But in that quiet, something unexpected happened. I found clarity. I realized that I was no longer trying to save the friendship. I was finally choosing myself. That shift wasn't easy, but it marked the beginning of something more powerful than holding on. It was the beginning of letting go with grace. Letting go not in anger, but with a deep understanding that some relationships were only meant to teach us something, not to walk beside us forever. And that's the truth that carried me forward. I began investing in the people who showed up without needing to be reminded, and I found peace in the space that opened when I stopped clinging to what no longer gave back. Letting go, I've learned, isn't a loss. It's a return to yourself. That line stayed with me, because it wasn't that the friendship never existed, but that it existed only as long as I kept feeding it. And that's not friendship, that's maintenance. If you've been the one holding on, the one always reaching out, sit with that truth for a moment. Then ask yourself, gently but firmly, is it time to reclaim your peace? This isn't the end of the story. It's the chapter where you choose truth over habit, dignity over dependency. Letting go isn't a sign of defeat. It's the first real act of honoring who you are now, not who you used to be. Conclusion. These 5 truths weren't easy to face. Each one asked something of me, a little honesty, a little courage, and a lot of self-respect. But in the end, they gave me something far more valuable: peace. If you're still here, listening, then maybe you're ready too. Ready to stop watering friendships that don't grow with you. Ready to stop shrinking into who you were, just to stay in someone else's comfort zone. Ready to say, with love and clarity, this chapter is closed. As we grow older, we begin to understand, not everything lost is a tragedy. Sometimes, it's a quiet liberation. And when we choose to walk away from what no longer nourishes us, we're not losing friends. We're making room for the ones who see us as we are, not as we were. As Epictetus once said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And sometimes, that includes the illusions we hold about friendship. Letting go becomes the ultimate freedom, a way back to truth, to clarity, to peace. So, wherever you are on your journey, may you walk forward lighter, clearer, and surrounded only by those who walk beside you in both your storms and your sun. You deserve that kind of friendship. We all do. If this video stirred something in you, don't rush past it. Let it settle. Let it remind you that sometimes the hardest truths are the ones that finally set us free. Save this video to your personal playlist, not because you need it now, but because one day, on a quiet evening, you might. One day, you'll want to be reminded why you chose to walk away, and how that decision led you back to yourself. And if you feel the need, leave a comment below, not for me, but for you. A gentle reminder to your future self that you saw clearly and you acted with care. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Not for the algorithm, but so that one more person out there, sitting quietly with a cup of tea and an aching heart, might hear what they needed to hear at just the right time. Until we meet again, take care of yourself. And remember, your worth is not measured by who stays, but by how bravely you choose peace over performance. This is Vernon. Thank you, truly, for walking this part of the journey with me.